How can a candidate determine a good target organization for them, or industry or group of companies that they should seek employment from?
Yeah, well, I think that's an exercise that most people skip, candidly, and I think probably it's generally true that the more junior you are, the more likely you are to skip this step. So it starts with a needs analysis of your strengths and weaknesses, and then what are you looking to accomplish with this career move. I think that's a critical question for everyone seeking a career move to answer. There's always the running away from something, but it's much, much better if you're running towards something. And you know what that is. To quote an old saying I heard somewhere, you'll never find anything you're not looking for, right? So you kind of have to know what you're looking for. So you do that needs analysis, kind of a personal assessment, then your needs analysis of where am I likely to get what I need fulfilled. And that's an interesting exercise. That exercise actually led me to start my own firm. But it could also lead you at a point in your career to say, well, I need to be at this kind of company, at this stage in their growth, with this many employees or this much revenue, looking to do this much growth in the next period of time. In this industry, but within that industry, in this subset of that industry. So if you start really thinking about it and doing the hard analytical work up front, you can end up with a group of targets that'll really suit your need and probably enhance the chances that you'll land the correct role that will actually accelerate your career.
Makes sense. Rich?
I think Harry's answer was pretty comprehensive, but I'd add that an often misunderstood and appreciated aspect of the search and the targeting has to do with the culture of an organization. So it's not just the industry and it's not just the role, but what are the values of this organization? What do they state? How do they behave? What do people say? Who are the heroes of the organization? How do they get things done? What processes do they use? Something simple that I mean, it's so basic as to be almost amusing, but we ask our clients to be attuned to. How were you treated when you came in? What did the receptionist say? Was she up or down? Did she seem to have an engagement in the business? How about the person who walked you over to the first interview room or the conference room? How did it appear in the cafeteria? How were people dressed? If it was late in the day, are they still there? Do they seem to be enjoying each other's company? These small cues and some of the larger ones that I mentioned a moment ago really are important in evaluating, is this a place that I want to be? Because you can have the right industry and the right job and still be in the wrong place because the culture just isn't consistent with your own values. Are these people who are out for number one and only themselves? Or do they work collaboratively? How do things get done? It's very interesting to say to a company, let's say, that makes products. So you launched that new product. Tell me how that worked, from inception. How did it get discovered? How did it move ahead in the research process? Who approved the ultimate test marketing? And, take them through that and see how it was done. Was it one person? Was it a group? Was it done at a lower level, or did it have to go all the way up to the CEO? Those are very instructive cues about how does this company really operate, which really gets right to the heart of the cultural DNA of an organization. So although it's hard to quantify and not always easy to tell exactly what's going on, it's an important piece. And it's often really the culture tends to be shaped by the leadership, who's in charge and what are their beliefs and how do they operate the organization.
I would add to that great point, there's a tendency we've noticed in clients who are and inexperienced hiring managers, but it also continues through a career, to get overexcited by someone's background on paper, right? So if you think about it, what we say to our clients is you're kind of hiring the resume and you're forgetting that a person comes attached to the resume. I can't imagine that Steve Jobs would do too well at IBM. I don't see the cultural fit there, and
probably fun to watch.
It would be a media party.
It could be fun to watch.
But I think probably the best decision he ever made was to work out of his garage. And vice versa, right back to the candidate, I think candidates can get enamored by the company, the brands that the company perhaps represents, or the brand that the company itself represents, the paycheck, the prestige, the whatever comes with the job.
Right.
So we have, you're kind of setting yourself up for a mismatch, perhaps,
Right.
if you're not evaluating sort of the personality or culture of the company to see if it fits with your preferred method of operating, right? Because if the modus operandi of the company doesn't match the individual, it won't take long for somebody to reject the other, and that'll be the end of the relationship. So it's absolutely important to look at, when you do that self-assessment I mentioned, to look at your own go-to strengths and modes of behavior and see if it will actually be accepted or rejected by the organization that you're going to.
You know,
Makes a
let
lot
me
of sense.
ask one more point, Gary, before we leave this. And this, we were talking about using LinkedIn and the internet.
Right.
Those are great tools to try to get a feel for what's going on in the company. You know, you can ask questions of people on LinkedIn about what do they know about this company. You know, what sort of behaviors seem to matter, what tends to work, how do they do things, and you can get a fairly rich array of answers that can augment, you know, your own experience inside the four walls of that building where the organization is housed. So this is really more so than ever. You can get a rounded look at an organization other than what they say in their own promotional materials.
Right. And to Harry's point earlier, the lower, the more you can zero in on your target, probably the much better questions you can ask, and the more you can really formulate the right questions to look at
Right.
to find out what you need to know.